I was thinking this morning about the holidays coming up, and I don't have a family anymore, but I think back, I still have my memories of the family that I had before everybody seemed to pass away. Um, but I'll tell you, everybody's got some kind of a skeleton in the closet, some relative that is just maybe, well, five shy of six. Daddy used to get so mad at me over saying somebody was five shy of six. He'd say, "You stop saying that. That's an awful thing to say about somebody." And I said, "Well, a few sandwiches shy of a picnic. I mean, what do you want me to say about them? They're not right." And he'd end up laughing about the whole thing. But I remember a, a funny story about some relatives that they were relatives like once removed. After my mother passed away, and the um, grieving period had passed, my dad met a very nice lady, and they ended up getting married. And she became my stepmother. I was outgrown on my own, married and everything at the time. And I'd go visit Daddy and my stepmother, and she was always very nice to me every time I got around her. And they did a lot of nice things for me. And I had not met any of her extended family. She didn't have any children. She was a widow. And she had a brother, and he had a wife, and his name was Homer, and his wife's name was Ruth. And my stepmother wanted me to call them Uncle Homer and Aunt Ruth, even though, we weren't blood kin or anything, but it just made us feel a little bit more like a family. And she talked about him, fairly often, about his job and his home and this sort of thing. And he was an executive. He worked at a major company. And I had not met them. And Dad and her had been married, I guess, around a year or so. And I know every time she'd talk about her brother, Dad would get real quiet. He wouldn't say nothing. And it came a long time, something was going on, and Homer and Ruth was coming to visit my stepmother and my dad. And she wanted me to come, me and my husband, to come and meet her brother and his wife. And I said, "Well, sure, I'd be happy to come out and see them." So my dad just kind of looked at me, gave me this really funny look, and I couldn't telepathically get the brainwave of what he was trying to tell me. Well, the day came that they was coming to visit, and I guess I got there a little early because they had not arrived yet. And my dad was sitting at the kitchen table. I will never forget this as long as I live, because every time I think about this, it just starts me cackling laughing. And I'm sitting there, and like I say, if you've heard many of my stories, I'm just like my dad. We just kind of blurt out whatever we're thinking. And Dad looked at me. He gave me one of these deadpan serious looks, and then he gets this ornery twinkle in his eye, and he gets this smirky grin, and he says to me, "I'm only going to tell you this one time." And I mean, that had my attention because Daddy never talked to me like that. But he's got this ornery look on his face, and he says, "If you say anything, I mean anything that would indicate that something ain't right, I swear to God, I swear to God." And up he got, and out the back door he went, and I can hear him choking back laughter as he's going out the door. And I'm wondering, what in the hell? He's out there in that yard laughing his ass off about something. What is up with this? So, I'm thinking, man, something's going to happen here today, but I don't know what the hell it is. Well, Homer and Ruth show up, and they come in the door. They had their luggage with them, and they're carrying this paper sack, like an old, if you've ever seen the old grocery sacks that are paper bags, but the paper bag has these holes cut around it, and the top of it is rolled down. And They said their obligatory hellos and all this as they come in the door and the introductions were made. And they take this paper bag, because I'm kind of watching this paper bag. It goes in and they set it on the back of the couch, up on the top of the backrest of the couch, kind of leaned up there against the wall. I'm wondering, what in the hell is that all about? Well, we go ahead. We were having dinner, so we fix the dinner and get it on the table, and everybody gets their plates, and we're all talking and having a good time. And every once in a while they'd say something about Mr. Bunny, and there was another, I can't remember what the name of the other one was, and I'm wondering, well, who in the hell's Mr. Bunny? And I didn't ask. Dad said not to say nothing, and so I'm trying to behave myself. Well, after dinner we all go in the living room to sit down, and Homer opens up this paper bag and he sets this stuffed bunny and this, I forget I think the other one was a little dog or something, a little stuffed dog, like kids play with, stuffed animal things. And he sets them beside the bag on the back of the couch. And my dad just looked at me. He just shot me one of these looks like, don't you open your mouth. Well, as it turns out, Homer and Ruth, they didn't have any children. And what they had done is they adopted these two stuffed animals. And they put them in a paper bag and they take them with them everywhere they went. And they took them to a parade. And Homer held this bag up over his head so that Mr. Bunny and this other critter could see out the holes in the paper bag to watch the parade go by. And they would sit them in the back window of the car so that they could see out wherever Homer and Ruth was driving. Well, later that afternoon, Dad said he had something to do down at the barn, and I said, let me go with you. I want to see what's going on down there. And he knew, the jig was up. I got him at the barn, and I said, what in the hell is up with this? And, I don't say nothing wrong with an adult having a stuffed critter, that's what they want, but to take it with you wherever you go in a paper sack and cut holes in the paper sack so that this stuffed critter can see out of the paper bag. Are you kidding me? And Dad would bust up laughing. He says, look, Evelyn loves him. It's her brother and his wife, and I ain't gonna say nothing to rock the boat, and I don't want you saying nothing to rock the boat either. He says, just, that's what they do. That's their quirk. That's their thing. And just leave it go. Leave it alone. Don't say anything. I said, well, Daddy, it's just weird. I said, this is a white collar working man, and she's got a real good job too. And, they're pulling down some major bucks with their jobs that they got and stuff. And they're quirky enough that they've got stuffed critters that they put in a paper bag and take everywhere they go. And he says, just let it go. Just don't say nothing. I never did say nothing about it, and I never said nothing to Evelyn about it. And me and my husband talked about it after we got home. We both found it a little weird. But I'm sure that the holidays are coming up and that you're all going to be around your families and stuff. And you probably got one in the closet someplace that's got something a little bit different than everybody else. And life's too short to cause waves. Just, say, well, at least they're not carrying around a stuffed critter in a paper sack to a parade.